Oh, that all seems to be working. That's very good. I'm going to unmute everybody's mic, and so it should all be working. I think it is in all the various different locations across the internet. Let me just click play and see if it is. Seems to be hunky-dory. Great. Right, let's turn that off and put that on instead. Hello. There we all are.
Hello.
Hello.
Hello, hello, hello. Hello, welcome to WP Builds weekly WordPress news, little live roundup. I'm still getting used to this system, so do forgive my foibles. And I have a little banner, which I'm going to put up, which says that. Oh, look, I can't even spell. I'm going to edit that quickly and make it spell go tov. It should say go to. There we go. Let me pop that up. There we go. I don't know if this is going to work because the system that we're using is called Restream, and apparently Restream have blocked the third-party provider that we use to actually connect all four of us on the screen at the same time. But I'll make an attempt to copy and paste things in, and we'll see how we go. You never know; it might be working by now. But let's introduce everybody, shall we? Hello, hello. Now I'm getting good at this. Look, yeah, first time. There's Paul Lacey. How you doing, Paul?
Doing good, thanks. Doing good. So Paul here from the Dicky Bird studio, and also brand ambassador for RunCloud.
And me. The match report, it would appear.
Yeah, new baseball cap. Really excited when this came through the post, actually.
He tweeted yesterday that he'd sold one.
That's me then. I am his biggest fan.
The biggest.
I think you should ask him to shut the whole system down. Get Matt Medeiros on the line, and you have the only Matt report headgear.
No, I went to. I saw one of my friends when I was wearing this on the weekend, and he was like, "Hey, I like your Mr. Robot cap."
Yeah, that's exactly what I would have thought.
And I was like,
actually,
Mr. Robot, the sci-fi show. What do you think I am, a geek? So this is a WordPress podcast.
It is. I think that's basically the same font as well. So and the fact that the acronym is
there's less lines on one of the logos than there is on the other.
Maybe that's what he did. He just bought the Mr. Robot merch and reselling
it.
Yeah, as long as the initials work.
Yeah, get them now. Because they'll be super rare when they get sued.
When they get taken down, yeah, that's it. Yeah, absolutely. But well, it's very nice to have you anyway, Paul. Thanks for joining us again. And there we have somebody new. I'm going to take this little comment away because it's actually hiding who Barbara
No, it's fine. You're covering my larger areas.
Okay. Okay, I'll put it back up. There we go. I'll take it away again. We have Barbara Saul. Oh, it's an absolute pleasure. I've known Barbara for probably getting on for, well, I would say approaching a year, maybe, don't know. Barbara, tell us, if you haven't seen this before, we give everybody a little bit of a chance at the beginning and at the end to just say who they are, but maybe...
Now you tell me.
Yeah, go for it. Who are you?
Oh, I'm Barbara Saul or Babs, whatever people prefer, I don't mind. I work a lot with WP and App on the content side and doing all kinds of things as much as I can get away with, really, supporting that. I've been working with WordPress for well over 10 years now, so just sort of looking after people mostly. I am not a geek, I'm not a developer or a designer, but I can help a lot of people actually work with WordPress themselves. So anyway, that's me in a very small nutshell.
Yeah, a pleasure to have you on. I see more and more of Barbara these days because of the work we do, the work that she does over at WP and Up, and I do the podcast over there. But yeah,
we should actually be encouraging everybody to buy the caps because, of course, the profits are going to WP and Up as well. So
yeah, that's true. Yeah, of course.
Thank you very much, Paul.
Funnily enough, in the Facebook group, we have there's some hot off the press news. Andrew Palmer has bought one as well.
Yeah.
So you are not the only person who's got one. Apparently there's at least two out in the wild, but you've got 50% of them.
Came in like 3 days. Came in 3 days. Okay. It's amazing. Yeah.
Okay, that's pretty
really
good.
Super
right.
Quality, so get your caps, definitely.
Get your caps from the Matt report. Whilst I move my finger in this direction and point down there. Oh, get it right. There we go. And it's Vito Peleg. Hey, Vito. Yeah, that's it. You're quite good at that. What? It took me ages to get that right.
What's up, guys? Well, it's good to be here. I'm Vito, the founder of WP Feedback. Yeah, I'm excited for this week.
Okay, yeah, thank you. Thanks for joining us all. Now, we're not here to talk about each other particularly, although we may have to at some point. We are here to talk about the WordPress Weekly News, and if I just click on this thing, oh, I do love this platform. How cool is that? Just a couple of things before we start, just sort of point you in the right direction. First thing I want to do, which is a very self-promotional, and I apologize, I tried to keep the self-promotional stuff towards the middle and not make it too long, but we do have this Black Friday page. If you go to WP Builds, I nearly said wpandup.org then. If you go to wpbuilds.com/black, or just click on that, you'll get to this like list of Black Friday deals. It's kind of searchable and filterable, and I've got a bunch of stuff going on. So I'm encouraging people to go over there.
Nice.
The other thing to say is,
well, later today.
What's that?
It's already. I was sent out to one of the guys to reach out to you and add
great.
on there as well.
Yeah, you see, what I've got is if you've got a product or service in the WordPress space, if you click that button there, you can fill out this form, and I'll add it to the page. And also, if you want to be updated about these things, click on that one, and I'll update you as and when I get new deals. I'm finding it hard to actually keep up at the minute, so it might be like a few hours south, but nevertheless, there we go. Right, let's get on to the meat and the potatoes of this week. We have an archive here, a news archive, and every week the latest post that we're talking about lives right about here. And so we're on to episode number 88, and here it is. Should we get stuck into it, guys?
Yeah.
Go for it.
Okay. I'm just going to pull up the Google Doc. First of all, though, I will open up this in a new tab. This is the state of the word address. Now I've got two links. I've got the link to the official version, I suppose, if you like, over there. On YouTube, they've put the entire video just right about here. But I've also linked to the WP Tavern article. Justin Tadlock's done a nice resume of what this was all about. He's basically saying more blocks, more blocks. It's all about blocks. Everybody talk about blocks. Let's keep the conversation about blocks going, because we don't talk enough about blocks. So blocks, that's what it's all about for the next year. And apart from that, we had this kind of cool thing as well. There was a film. There was an actual WordPress film, and this was done by the guys over at WordFence. So props to Mark Maunder and his film company. I'm going to say Kathy is his sidekick, but I can't remember her surname, so apologies about that. But they released this film, so that was quite a quirky thing in the state of the word. But then it just became the normal list of things that we've had over the last year in WordPress. And
they did more than that with this film. They had like a really cool premiere, kind of, like with a red carpet and
oh, really?
Everyone dressed up. It was pretty cool, yeah.
What? That is to say that they actually, so it wasn't just in that room at the State of the Word. They actually did one whereby there was an actual red carpet with, like, it felt like Hollywood kind of thing.
Yeah, that's what that was the kind of like the point of it, to feel like we're in Hollywood for a minute, even though we're in St. Louis and within WordCamp. But it was awesome. Like the guys, Mark and Kathy and all the crew, they came in with like limousines and photographers all around, and it was awesome. Well done.
Oh, that's really cool. I mean, the takeaways, we probably could spend a lot more time on this, but the takeaway is that, over the next period of time, the next few days, we're going to be updating to WordPress 5.3. Got lots and lots of bug fixes. We've got a new default theme called 2020. Got a few date time fixes which seem like trivial but are probably going to be quite important. Loads and loads of things in the block editor that have been updated. And yeah, that's all I have to really say about that. I watched it all, I read it all, and that's kind of my summation of it. It wasn't groundbreaking in any way. Anybody want to chip in on that?
I suppose I'd better learn how to work with this Gutenberg thing now then.
Oh, have you not been using it?
No, I haven't.
We'll get
only
onto
on the
a piece.
WP site.
Yeah, We'll get onto a piece later from the Toolset guys and their integration with Gutenberg, and you only have to look at the comments to realise that you are far from out of the ordinary.
Oh, indeed.
I think you are probably the majority. I have to say, for my part, I've learnt to love it now. I really like it. I like the future of what it's going to be able to do. Anyway, there we go. It was the state of the word for this year. Paul, anything to add? Vito, go on.
Yeah, if I was going to be cynical, then I'd say that the film was probably very very beneficial to the talk. Because I don't think, it seems that there is lots of unrest in the WordPress hierarchy as such. So I don't think it was the full state of the word as such. But I think that as for Gutenberg, there was a lot of focus on that. It is here to stay, whether people like it or not. You can see the comments below are still kind of addressing that there is still a lot of negativity around it. But I think that you could get away with this talk this year as it was. I think in a year's time, then the things will come out in the wash in terms of all the unrest around politics and all that kind of stuff in WordPress, and money in WordPress, and who's in control of this and who's in control of that, and whether or not the Gutenberg plugin has the Gutenberg editor, block editor, has really, really worked. Because some people in the comments on this article are, sort of pointing out that, yeah, of course you will get that many activations of people using the block editor if it is the default editor when you install WordPress now. So there was some criticism of the talk below. The other major point, it looks like Matt has shaved his beard down a little bit, so it's more kind of stubble than full beard now. But it'll be interesting to see what the talk is in a year's time, I think.
I'm going to say, Paul, I've just made you very large on the screen, and having seen you on close up the other day on Skype, I think you've also shaved your beard down quite a bit as well, haven't you?
I have, yeah.
Are you copying Matt? Are you
for inspiration?
Just talk slower.
Yeah.
So, I can say what kind of was the response after the actual talk over there. There was a lot of discussions about or confusion around what's the future of themes. It seems like themes are gonna be out soon, and people try to get Matt's response on that, but it was kind of vague and not really clear. So this is something that I think maybe on the upcoming roundups, maybe we'd kind of like see more of, just discussions around what's the future of themes. Fine, the block, that was the whole thing about that, the blocks. But I think that the biggest thing is if themes are going away and they're not going to be needed anymore, what's going to happen to half of the ecosystem?
Point. Really good point. So we'll wait and see, I suppose. The next one is all about WordPress 5.3 release candidate 4, but I don't think we need to talk about that, largely because it's going to be over in about 12 hours time. But if you wanted to beta test it, quick, get in there right away and test some things and then submit some feedback ever so quickly. But you've not got much chance. So let's move on. The next section we have, after we've done the WordPress course stuff, is the sort of community section. And what we got, the first one is the annual survey. You ever filled this one out, guys? Has any of you actually taken the time to fill out the annual survey, which is kind of like they put it out this time every year, and they want a whole load of data about everything to do with WordPress, who's using it, how it's being used. Notable thing to add this year is if you are a French, German, Japanese, Russian, or Spanish speaker, this survey is now available to you in your own native language. But
are they releasing the data from previous years?
Say again.
Are they releasing the data or collecting it somehow from previous years? This could be a really interesting report.
Yeah, I do not know. I don't know if it's done in-house. I mean, it's at the .org website. Actually, I don't know. Let me click on this and see where you end up. WordPress.org.survey.fm. So we're taken to a third-party site called survey.fm. So I don't know where that data is held. But anyway, the point is that they want you to go and fill out maybe survey.fm. Just looking at that button looks far too WordPressy, to be anything. I'm wondering if survey.fm is an automatic property. It probably is, isn't it? They bought PollDaddy about 1 billion years ago, so it might be one of those things. Anybody fill it out ever?
I have done previously, yes.
Good for you. Yeah.
I haven't noticed it this year, so I shall.
Do you get any sort of do they give you any feedback later on? In other words, does that put you on an email list where 6 months later they let you know anything? As Vito says, no. Okay.
No, it's not that I've noticed or can remember.
No. Okay. Well, I probably will fill it out. I confess, it sort of slipped me by on most years. It's the kind of thing that comes across my radar, and then I completely forget all about it. But I will go and fill it out at some point in the near future, because I think it's, from my point of view, very much in the WordPress ecosystem. It's kind of important to keep that stuff going. So, unless anybody else has got to say anything, we will move on to this. This is interesting. Vito, maybe I know, Vito, you're not exactly prepped for this, but I'm going to ask you if you want to talk about it, because let's do some scrolling. Where is he? Where is he? There he is.
Yeah,
It's
V
Vito.
is towards the end,
Yeah. This is interesting. This is Jan Koch, who has put together something called WP Agency Summit. I could actually probably tell you a bit, but maybe, do you know much about it?
Yes,
obviously, Vito, because you're on it. Yeah,
I watched. I've done the lesson with Jan, but I also watched your training on this last week. First of all, the idea is to try and take what people are doing in the real world when it comes to conferences and bring that online to create a lot more value, and in a way that you can just sit at home and watch and learn. There's been a few of these online summits or online conferences this year, but this one is focused more on the agency aspect of building websites with WordPress, or how to grow the agency and stuff like that. It's a lot more, a lot less focused on the technical aspect, but more on the business side, which I love. That's my cup of tea for sure. Yeah, super interesting conversation that I had with Jan. I don't know what happened on the other ones, but he asked some great questions, and I think that at least from our discussion, I think that this is going to be super interesting to watch, and it's free, so join.
Yeah, it is. It's totally free. For me, it was when Jan reached out to me, it was more the sort of like the laundry list of people. I thought this was really great. He's got like 30, I think, organized, and I know how difficult it is to do one of these things at a time. But the idea of coordinating and getting 30 people on so that you've recorded everything and it's ready to roll is great. And you're absolutely right. If you click on the link in the show notes, you'll be taken to this page, and from there you can just sort of scroll, and it's so many people, and so many of them,
everyone
offering real amazing value. Been there, done that kind of folks. And if you watch it live, you will get it for free. You will be able to watch it live completely for free. It's a 10-day event, so it stretches an awfully long time, and this landing page kind of lays it out by day, so that's helpful. And but if you want to see it, if you want to, like, for posterity, you want to keep a copy of everything and get some of Jan's freebies, then it's $127 if you buy it now. But if you wait until the doors have actually opened, then I think it goes up to 100. Well, it does. It goes up to 197. So if you want to keep this for posterity, yeah, I just think it's great. I'm really blown away by how he's managed to pull this together. I remember last year trying to do like a competition for WP Builds, and how fraught with difficulty it was. And it felt a bit like this. So well done, Jan. Anybody want to hop in on that?
I'd love to know how many people actually do watch these things. Because, I was sort of like immediately thinking, oh, we could do that for WP and Up. Perhaps, or around all the well-being hubs and things.
Yeah,
usually in these things, when you go in, you see a little counter.
Yes,
I'm not sure because it hasn't actually started. I know that he's I know that it is successful. We're into I think the hundreds of people who subscribe, multiple hundreds. But actually, Barbara, Jan is actually in the Facebook group watching this now, as luck would have it.
Yes.
And if you want, at the end, I will connect you with him, because he was very open with me about how he set it all up, and all of the different parts that went into making it work. So I can link you.
500 plus registrations right now.
Okay. Wow. That's really good.
That's awesome.
Yeah, off the back of a very large amount of work,
Another 500 after this.
Yeah.
Oh,
well,
wow.
You never know. We'll see how that goes. But
he's sharing some stats here. He said the last one in 2015 had 25,000 page views in 10 days.
Wow. Oh yeah, that's right. He did one. Well, yeah. Funnily enough, I did a live version of. Well, I did something akin to this with Jan just this morning. It's over at wpbuilds.com/YouTube. It's in the webinars section, and Jan explained in great detail what each person was doing. And so, if you've got any queries about what's going on, wpbuilds.com/YouTube, I should say. I don't know if I said that a second ago. That'll take you to our YouTube channel, and it's in the webinars section, and you can check it out.
Look at Oliver's picture. People are talking about the picture here. I love Oliver's one with that.
No, check this out. David Wormsley thought this was hysterical. If you put this together, just that little, if you just go right there on the website, you've got yourself a little band.
Yeah.
Yourself the guitarist, and here's the singer.
Push you up to the same day, and then you could have a full-on group with one of your old photos, mate.
Lead electric guitar, Oliver Sild, and on vocals, Lee Jackson. Great, that's brilliant. So go and check that out, and thanks for Jan for doing that this morning with me. That was really cool. I haven't done an impromptu one of those for absolutely ages, so that was great. Okay. I don't know if anybody wanted to take this one, because I know, Paul, that you kind of led on this one before, a little while ago. Probably, what do you reckon? A couple of weeks, was it? Do you reckon, Paul?
Yeah, 2 or 3 weeks ago.
We had we talked about the piece of content that was created, and this week we've got the kind of like the response. She put together a survey. I don't know how to say her name. I'm going to say Oana. But I'm not sure that's... Is that how you pronounce it? Thank you.
I think so.
And of course, Vlad we had on from Pixel Grade last week. Well, here she is. She's got her kind of survey results come through, and I read it. It was really interesting. It was talking about the fact that, well, there was this sort of disconnect, she thought, between WordPress authors, that is to say, people who review things or talk about products on their platforms or their websites or whatever, and maybe a sort of disingenuous need to, or a disingenuous nature of those posts. In other words, a lot of them were just affiliate posts, and they didn't really delve deeply into the product. They didn't really, the people who'd received it perhaps didn't even take the time to inspect what it was about, what it did. They just wrote kind of copy and paste commentary that just sounded like, oh, it does everything for everybody, it's got such and such features, everybody can benefit from this, blah blah blah. And so she said she didn't think this was a good idea, and then this is the piece that she wrote in response. And it turns out that the authors of things like plugins and themes, they really do want to connect with their audience, and I think, Vito, you're a bit of a shining example of this, because you've got a product, and you make the effort to come onto these things. I know I've seen you on countless other things, but do you have an opinion on this? Do you want to build up relationships with people? Would you be happy to spend time?
Yours is the best, Nathan.
What's that?
Even though I go to a lot of these things, yours is the best. Just so we're,
I didn't hear that. Can you just say that one more time?
You can crop this later, for the.
No, that's very kind. I refuse to hear that, as opposed to I cannot hear it. That's very kind of you. But the point being, as a product owner, do you see that kind of stuff? Do you see, do people email you saying, give us a copy of it, or something along those lines, and you just sort of get the feeling either they just want a free copy, or they just want something so that they can pretend a bit that they know about it, write a review that's glowing in every respect, not be critical about it in any way because that's going to offend you, and then bung a load of affiliate links in it.
Right. Yes, some of them, some are like that, and but I get it. Like it's not hard. It's not easy to run a business. So if you created an audience and you can monetize that in other ways by reducing costs for your own agency or your own freelancing business, I try to help as much as I can as well from my side, because obviously it's in my favor as well to have this posted on as many platforms as possible. When it comes about when you said about like giving an honest review, so the way that I structure this is that right, you write whatever you think should be written, but if you have any problems or any bugs or any issues, because we're a new product, reach out to us before that. This way you can also experience our support if there is anything happening. Yeah, and we can fix that not only for you, but for future users if you found something that we haven't noticed before. So that's kind of like my my way of doing this. Some people do get a free product if usually if I know that their main focus is around being an influencer or building communities or stuff like that. People like yourself that don't really do much really on they don't really do WordPress for a living apart from building communities and engaging with that. So yeah, you don't have any use with it with my tool apart from talking about it and reviewing this. So you're gonna get it for free. But if it's someone that has an agency and I know that they can generate value out of this, I don't give a full discount. I actually like the fact that it's not free, because then they appreciate it more. They actually use it, and they, yeah, even though you give something, if it's a new product, people don't really know how much value it is until they actually use it. So by giving it for free, it's already at zero. But by giving a discount, you're actually framing it differently.
Yeah, interesting stuff. Thank you. That was a really unique and interesting insight. The next one is this. I can't wait for this, actually. This is on the Publish Press website. So we've all used Google Docs, and I remember that moment when I first used Google Docs and somebody else logged in and started modifying the document at the same time. I believe I had to sit down. I was that impressed. And then I probably fell over off the side of the chat. No, I remember genuinely thinking, wow, that's really clever. Look, some guy is editing what I've already written. How can I help? Oh, what was that? Somebody? How can we help? Is it? Yes, Barbara on the phone.
Here are the top search results.
Oh, it's doing it again. Switch.
She said, okay, Google.
Cushion, quick, before it explodes. Collaborative editing is coming to WordPress. Now it's a way off. We're on phase 2 of Gutenberg, which is this one here, the easier editing. Second phase is the one that we're in now, customization. And then we're into collaboration. So that's going to be the third phase. So we're still a little way off. But anybody want to talk about this? I know you do, Babs. Will this be an exciting thing for somebody who writes content all the time? Google Docs style collaboration?
Yes, absolutely. Following your suggestion, where I've actually loaded it onto WP and Up to try and test it out a bit there, the Publish Press version. But yes, when it comes to as part of WordPress, that's going to be great fun. I mean, I don't know. I mean, I kind of don't mind having such documents separate from WordPress and then bringing it in. Because it just feels like there's a bit more control over things that way. But it's going to be a while before it reaches WordPress, I think.
Yeah.
Because it's quite a task to actually make this happen.
What they say on the website is that for Google to put this together, well, it was a miracle in its day, but it's not that impressive nowadays because Google own everything. Google own all the hardware, all the infrastructure that creates the Google Docs. So they've got complete oversight on that, and they presumably spend a lot of money on all of that. Whereas a lot of WordPress sites are built on cheap shared hosting, and if Google were automatic WordPress.org was going to do this, then they have to take into account the fact that it might be very difficult to manage this on a variety Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And not knowing what every server configuration was, what version of PHP. So the approach that is on this website is quite interesting and innovative, I think. So at the moment, if you log into WordPress and you are trying to edit a page that somebody else is already editing, it basically says no, clear off, somebody's dealing with it. Do you want to kick them out, or do you want to just wait? You know, those are your options kind of. So they're saying that the version of this that will probably ship is on a block by block basis. So you'll load a page or a post, and you'll be able to edit everything on that page apart from the blocks that are currently being edited. And you can see an example. So this is what you get at the moment, and this is what I can't see where it's gone. Yeah, so here we go. They're imagining that it would look like this. So fascinating.
Yeah,
I can't wait for this.
That's a really easy fix for them to do.
Yeah, I think this would be great. Quite a lot of the content, I would say 99% of the content that I produce is just me. But I know Barbara in particular, I know you, and a lot of people, they collaboratively write stuff, and the idea of being able to do that simultaneously, I think is great.
It is, yes. I mean, the idea that, you know, the level of your hosting is going to make a difference. I quite like that idea, because then it's just going to, you know, if you want to use this, and you've got to have decent hosting. That's fair enough.
Yeah,
so,
that's a good idea.
That's true, Babs. But most people that will be using this wouldn't even think about that. They would just be frustrated by the speed, or this getting stuck, or the page crashes, or how the website got slowed down all of a sudden when someone is editing in the back end. If it's if it's not properly cached, even most people don't have the like end users, of WordPress don't have this reality to understand that this is why it's happening.
Yeah, I know what you mean. I a lot of my clients are kind of that level where they just want me to kind of look after stuff for them, which is great. But I think really, I think we need to kind of start accepting that there are some things you've got to pay for.
I agree.
Not everything is going to be very, very cheap or free. If you want to do all of these extra things, you've got to pay for it. So
it is music to Vito's ears.
I know, actually, it's music to my ears. Who is this person?
Yeah. That's great. But Paul, any thoughts on that? You're being very silent this week, Paul.
Oh no, I don't know. I'm just thinking about this, and I'm not convinced about some of the concepts here. I'm being a bit negative this week, aren't I? Actually.
No, that's okay. What you don't like? You don't think it's necessary, or you don't like the idea of doing it per block?
First of all, you need front end editing. I think this only can work in the front end when you're just purely talking about the editorial text, because you might be locked into one block, but what about all the taxonomy tick boxes? And what about any custom fields? And what about any other options? Who's got override to hit publish and make the structural pages, the permalink change, the author change, comments on, comments off, all that sort of stuff.
That's true.
So I'm not convinced that like this can work in the back end. And I don't think block by block. I just can't imagine it. It just feels chaotic. But I could see it working on the front end, where it did feel like a Google Doc, and you were able to collaborate purely on the purely. So it feels like front end editing needs to come before this, really, in my opinion. Just having used the block editor a bit and seen some of the chaos you can get into sometimes when people install 30 blocks or 10 different block packs. It's a lot of stuff getting added in there, and I think like it's too early to talk about this from WordPress, apart from as just purely an idea. But the article is good because it just kind of shows, it creates a conversation like this where you can say, yeah, I guess they could do that, or I don't agree with it, but also use it.
What I like about this conversation that is starting to happen recently is that we're starting to realize that it doesn't make sense the way that we're working within the website. So fine, a lot of the problems on the technical side has already been fixed. We have builders and we have Yoast and ACF and all these kind of amazing tools. But that's totally up my alley. The 50% of all of our businesses is actually managing clients, talking to them, editing content, collaborating with people. So, and that part was left aside for too many years. that's kind of my agenda of what I'm trying to fix. And I think that this just more stuff with visual feedback. This is exactly visual feedback are just going to push that concept forward and help us realize that what we've been doing so far is just the manual way, like we've done with HTML and CSS back in the day, and that something needs to change now.
It's interesting. As soon as Google Docs came around, I mean, maybe I've been forced to, but I don't think I have used Microsoft's Word at all ever since that moment happened. And it was basically because of the ability to copy and paste a URL and share it everywhere. And so, and I have many, well, as you guys know, I provide you with a Google Doc link for the show notes for this, simply because you can log in and you can say, oh, I'd like to talk about that. But if I could do that in WordPress, I surely would. If I could be sure that we weren't going to sort of lock each other out. So I just feel that modern text editing is about collaboration and not about I own it and then I'll send it to you via an email or whatever. And so just kind of feels like something that they have to do. But I think equally Paul's right. The idea of blocking people from blocks is a bit of a kludge, isn't it? But anyway, we'll see. We'll see how this goes.
They might get around it if there was like a collaboration mode, which was a little bit like you know, the no clutter mode that they sometimes have in WordPress, whereby, you know, when you were in collaboration mode, you could set perhaps a post to be currently in collaboration mode, and as a result, none of the meta box type things are relevant. They don't even show up. You're almost front-end editing. You've just got the collaboration mode screen, so it's completely separate than publishing, saving drafts, that sort of thing. It's purely you are collaborating on the blocks. That could work. They might have that in their ideas anyway, but I'm sure that, you know, this kind of thing, if it gets released, it will get masses of feedback and lots of objections, and that's how you try things, and then you figure out the problems, and then you try again until it works.
Yeah, Jan makes the point that he feels that Microsoft Office only exists due to its massive acceptance in the corporate world. Google Docs is the way to go online. I'm not sure if WordPress can catch up. Yeah, I don't think it would be a replacement for something like Word. What I'm advocating is that interface, that collaboration interface is really cool. And obviously, if you've got big teams, we know that people have suffered this problem with WordPress because people like Publish Press. That's what they do. They aim to make it easier to collaborate on content within WordPress. That's their whole business model. So we know that there are a lot of people, you know, imagine like a website like TechCrunch or something where they literally produce like 20 pieces a day. It's probably 100 people logging in all simultaneously and trying to, can you get out just for 10 minutes? I've got this thing I need to add. And okay, fine. But if they could all get in at the same time, might be good. Might be good. I'm just going to mention this. Speaking of that, large organizations like TechCrunch, this is nothing to do with TechCrunch, but a few weeks ago I mentioned on the news that there's this automatic project called Newspack, which is basically a SaaS service built on WordPress, specifically tailored for small news organizations who just don't want to, who don't want to run their own infrastructure. I think it started at like $5,000 a month or something. I remember my jaw going, whoa, hang on, that's a lot of money. But it's starting, it's beginning. We've got a magazine or a newspaper called Oklahoma Watch. They've signed up, and there are 34 other news organizations who have signed up for the next round, which starts possibly in 2020. So, you know, I could be wrong about that 5,000, but let's imagine that it's true. That's a sudden ton of cash injected to Automatic just for creating an instance of WordPress with a few specific plugins around news.
A WAS.
Yeah.
Created a WAS.
Yeah, indeed. I suspect there's more to it than that, and no doubt somebody from VIP will get in touch and say, no, you've got that completely wrong. There's an absolute ton going on. It's really not that simple. Yoast. Free course, very nice. Babs, do you want to talk about this? Have you delved into this in any way?
I haven't yet, but I'm going to. I'm going to do a review and actually post that to my clients and things like that. I didn't used to be a huge fan of Yoast stuff. I say, say that out loud now, but I love it now. after catching up with Marika at WordCamp Europe and understanding the whole ethos behind Yoast and their approach to things, I just think they're pretty darned awesome, really. And this is great. I'm sure it's going to be absolutely thorough. It's going to show people most of what they need to do, and make it easy for the rest of us. So that then, when they want to go to the next stage, then they, people can have a bit of an understanding, or we can say, if we don't want to be teaching people the basics, we can say, go and do this, and then come back with anything
that's a good point.
that you want to do. It will, it's not going to replace, what we're doing for clients and things. It's just hopefully going to take some of the initial grunt work out of the way, I would say.
Well, it is completely free. I confess I only watched this intro video that Yoast is actually in, but stress is on the word beginners, I suppose. It's not designed for WordPress professionals, but it might be the kind of free, updated, well-made course, because actually the one that I watched here with Yoast is, you know how when Yoast put out a blog post, every blog post has a piece of custom artwork made for it?
Yes.
Yes.
You kind of get the feeling a bit like Elementor. They've got a budget for making nice content, and the video looks like that. They've got a green screen. They've lit him well. He's obviously reading off a script, so he's not just making it up. And it's good. It looks really good. And like Babs said, stick it in front of your WordPress clients if they keep asking you the same thing over and over again. Go watch this.
Go watch that.
Yeah, exactly. Go watch that.
Babs, what changed your mind on Yoast? Was it just meeting them properly?
I think it partly was, yes, and reading up on them, and getting over myself a little bit, to be honest. I sort of thought, these guys seem a bit too good to be true, but actually, no, they are actually that good. So, I'm a big fan now, obviously.
That's nice.
Yeah, no, it is. If you get out to WordCamps and stuff, obviously I know you sometimes organize them, don't you? I think so. But if you get out there and you meet some of these companies who, if you were to believe everything you read online, are the bad guys.
Indeed, yes.
Then without meeting some of the people, it's difficult to form a really an honest opinion, because like everything on the internet, there's a lot of trolling and stuff like that, and it's quite easy for things to become perceived as true. But I've met a lot of the companies that at WordCamps and stuff like that I was a bit snobby about. And then and those people, I get to talk to them and query them on some of the things that I felt, and they help to put me right and give me a balanced opinion. So it's really nice to hear that.
Yes, I mean, it was kind of nice. I mean, at Europe, I was there with Nathan and interviewing people. I actually interviewed Marika, and I was just blown away, quite frankly. There's only probably 3 or 4 companies that I would want to work with or work for within the WordPress arena, and I think Yoast is one of them. And that's not said like I'm not looking for a job. It's not said lightly. I'm quite tough to impress, really. But they were brilliant, and like you say, going to a WordCamp and talking to people, you soon get to know who actually really cares about the people that are supporting other people using WordPress and who just want to sell stuff. And Yoast is there to support us.
Yeah, because they took a lot of criticism when they made a mistake once. I mean, it was a mistake. It probably cost a lot of money, but at the end of the day, it was a mistake for an open source free product. So,
well, that's it. Yes. Again,
what are you talking about? What was this?
So.
Vito.
Let's open it up.
Go on, Paul. Dish the dirt.
Oh no, it was the mistake when there was an error in the code that made something like media elements not index or something. Something happened where a load of things weren't indexing on websites, were almost being blocked from search engines rather than the other way around.
Yeah.
So it was a definite faux pas from a SEO plugin, but I think because it was Yoast and because they're successful, they got more criticism than they probably deserved.
People like to hate the giant.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember that story. It was.
I don't remember the
Yeah,
exact details. I just remember that I felt it was a little bit overreaction
yeah, yeah.
online.
Let's move on and talk about this one very, very briefly. I think possibly, Babs. I don't know. It's all about Chris Lemmer's little lightning talk that he did. Maybe Vito, who was in the US last week, maybe he saw it. The reason I included this because I just thought it was a great way of kind of summing up how to write some marketing copy. He's got this idea called the bridge framework. Now I can explain it, or you can if you want. Babs, I'll hand it to you.
Well, I just like the idea that you are writing a story. If you can make a story of anything, then that's the best kind of thing that people want to read. I learned long ago, pre-WordPress days, that if you can write a story about things, that's going to sell much better. From somebody who became a good friend back in Academy days, if anybody can remember that.
Oh.
But anyway, he very much promoted this idea of telling stories and things like that. So it's kind of nice to see this, coming up again. That that's the way to go with writing.
I think that this is a really powerful way of marketing. Just talking about this. This is kind of like just direct response type of marketing, like the Ogilvy method, and it works. And it's not as kind of like snappy as some of the ads that we see out there, but it's a lot more effective in my experience when we were doing this with clients, especially when we were doing stuff with charities. With a lot of charities, it was all about creating stories that invoke emotion.
Yeah, and the way that he pitches it in the video, which is well worth watching, I think it's only about 10 minutes long, and he talks about this person who wants to go out and buy a stereo, and he arrives at the river, and the river's too deep, and so he finds a bridge, and he crosses the bridge, and then he manages to get to the point where he's in a successful position. Then he looks back and he sees a bunch of people with exactly the same problem he had half an hour ago, trying to cross the river, and he can point to where the bridge is and say, look, I can do this for you. It's not that I'm better than you. It's not that I'm more brilliant than you. It's just that I've done it.
I figured it out.
Yeah, I figured it out already. And just a nice way of putting it. But anyway, maybe go and check that out. But
yeah, if you haven't listened to Chris Lemmer before, because obviously anyone who's been around in WordPress for a while has, then this is a great insight into the way that he thinks and the way he tells his stories whenever he represents a company or he's doing his own stuff.
Yeah.
I know he gets a fair bit of criticism sometimes, so it's a bit Marmite. Some people love him, some people hate him, but for me, I've never paid him a penny, as far as I'm aware. He's entertained me and he's taught me things. Never met him, so he's all good for me. And I think he always does do a good talk and everything. And
he's a very good raconteur. He can talk.
Nice a lightning talk framework into something that could easily be, a 10-hour course is great value for free that you can watch online. So
yeah, it's a good point. I know this one, it'll probably get people interested. I would imagine that all of us at some point have come across this beauty ACF and ACF Pro. Well, Elliot, who I have enormous respect for, not only because I think he's kicked it out of the park with ACF and ACF Pro, but also just because he's a really, really nice, humble guy, which in my world counts for a lot, actually. And so he's decided after many, many years that he's going to change his pricing. So he's always had this, what most people regarded as ridiculously cheap pricing. Pay once, you're done. He's now going to move over to the model of subscription. And I've never seen this graph before, but this graph just immediately summed up the problem. And so just to show you, the sales is the white box, right? So each year you'll notice the sales go up a tiny, tiny little bit. Each of the white boxes is not bigger than the other ones.
Yeah, he said like 5%.
Yeah, something like that. But the purple boxes represent how many customers he's got. And so here he is back in 2015, and the sales equaled the customers. Now in 2019, here's the sales, here's the customers. So that just so beautifully represented the problem of lifetime deals in terms of the support burden.
I couldn't agree more, and I think that the more, again, this is one of the things that we should be talking about this more and more. And like Bab says, if you want something, sometimes you gotta pay for it, right? And if it provides a good value for you, and as freelancers and agency owners, we already figured out that this model, that the lifetime thing, where you build a website for someone and then they bother you for the rest of your life, it doesn't work, right? It's like you can't do that. You have to get them on some kind of a recurring model so that you don't lose your mind, or like and you can keep sustain yourself and grow your business. And this is exact depiction within the product model that we all know from the agency and the freelance model. And I think that the more we're going to realize that Envato is ruining the industry by doing the opposite of what we're seeing here or doing exactly what is happening here. That's why we see giants that were there 2-3 years ago that are now just disappearing. It just makes no sense that it was like this for so many years. To me, that's the point.
Yeah, it's just, it was the visual representation. I mean, on an academic level, I totally always got it. It always made sense. But that graph just really brought it home. I just thought that was marvelous. You know, steady growth in terms of sales, massive customer burden, and his is not the kind of plugin, I think, that most of us use and then just it got dusty in a drawer somewhere. I think his is the kind of plugin that you use, and then on every site you use it again and again and again. So I bet his support burden is massive. Anyway, there's the new pricing. One website is that, 10 websites is that, unlimited is the large blue one, and that's
one thing that he did here is he did do the unlimited thing, which a lot of product within the product space is now being advocated against. Creating unlimited kind of brackets within your pricing. So he's gone like one step up, but not all the way.
Yeah, that's interesting. Interesting that you say that. Yeah, I wonder if he's got some sort of way of checking that somebody, because Elementor did that, didn't they? They had the infinite,
they blocked it, yes,
and then they said, actually no, we can see that a couple of these licenses are just being used an extraordinarily large. Something strange is going on here. These licenses are clearly being shared around, so they put 1,000 limit on it, which was a hard cap. You never know. Anyway, I love that plugin, and I'm so pleased that he's hopefully going to create some revenue that he ought to have been having already. Now another one. Go on. Sorry, Paul.
The pricing's totally fair. I would pay that a year. I'm not going to volunteer and do that, but if I hadn't bought it, however many years ago it was, then I wouldn't have a problem with that price there.
And I think you can still buy the old pricing now.
Yeah, you can. It's not until it's like 20. There you go. Look, when rolled out in early 2020. So, I mean, this is how nice he is. He's giving you like, what's that? 2 months to just go out and get the old model. He could have just done it overnight or said in a week, in 24 hours. He didn't. He gave you 2 months to try. I think that's really nice.
Yeah, it's really deserving of it. I mean, Vito's right as well. You can't sustain that. But Vito, you've obviously got the opposite model, don't you, with your company, where when you get a customer, you hassle them for the rest of their life. That's right, isn't it?
That's before they become a customer. No, we keep hassling them the entire relationship long, because we want to make sure they're doing it right. They're doing it using get the most out of it. So we're everywhere.
The thing is, it's like you when you have a subscription model like what you have after the initial launch deal, then it is a lifelong relationship, isn't it? It's not you hustling people. It's that you do have a lifelong relationship, other than just taking more and more and more. You're investing back in, and you're creating and that is the economy we're in with WordPress and plugins. Everything's been too cheap for way too long, as you've said before, Vito, a number of times. So it isn't sustainable. All these AppSumo deals, they're not sustainable.
No,
you can't sustain a business like this, especially with how fast things change now. So some of the plugins that we might have bought a year ago on lifetime deals or something, they might be struggling for relevance these days. So
true.
They don't have the budget to change themselves to become relevant again, because they're out of money.
They're out of money, and then they do another deal like that, and they're just trying to get over there and get over the water, get their head above water. But that's something that it's a great idea to get started with a tool or with a product, to just do something that gives you that initial surge of cash. But when you're looking at this in the long run, well, listen, Paul, we are looking at the same customers that did the lifetime deal in the same way that we're looking at the ones that are paying monthly or paying yearly. To me, they all paid their dues. In a year and a half, that's when the lifetime guys will become more of a burden in terms of support, and so I think we went out of it in the right time. Only time will tell.
Yeah, I think with your company though, I imagine most of the communication you have is exchange of ideas at the moment, and because apart from when something is actually broke, it's so easy to use your plugin. You don't really need to say I'm stuck.
Yeah, it's just it's like feature requests and ideas. That's basically just sharing the love.
Yep, exactly.
Okay, let's move it on very quickly. I've got a few more plugin bits of news. We'll go through these. This is the first one, more about blocks. This is the decision that Toolset have decided to chuck their views, to basically rename their views plugin into Toolset blocks, because it's now going to be a block. They say that they're not going to affect backwards compatibility. In other words, if you've been using whatever system you've been using to paste shortcodes in to get a view, that'll still work. But now their whole UI is going to be built on the Gutenberg, block editor. So all of it will be done in there. I did have a quick play with the beta test with David McCann, and that was about a month ago, and there were a few little bugs at that point. But look at this, 123 responses. I mean, wow. And some of them, if we just sort of scroll down, some of these are actual essays. The company have, look at this one, just people writing screeds. People are in equal measure delighted and furious. They, those that have got no interest in the block editor, they hate it with a passion. They're expressing very loudly that this is the end of their relationship with Toolset, or something to that effect. Amir's basically, the CEO of On The Go Systems, calming them down, sort of saying, look, the old stuff's going to work. Don't worry, we're all good. Yeah. But we've got to move with the times, and we can't afford to go to all the page builders and say, please, will you align with us, and we'll align with you, and let's keep talking, because eventually that conversation runs dry. Those page builders have got different priorities, and so going with the one page builder where they know what's going on just makes perfect sense to them. So interesting times for Toolset. But the fact that they got 123 comments in their thread, just to me at least, I just thought, I can't remember the last time I saw a freshly minted article with that many long comments. So there's a lot of people seriously into Toolset still.
That's for sure. Yeah, go on, Paul.
Oh, I was going to say, there's some misunderstanding. I think at the moment that they use the word blocks, people panicked.
Yes, it's a trigger word now.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, so it just kind of they kind of inherited a lot of the panic and drama around the Gutenberg editor by making that announcement. Sure, yeah. But as it says in there, you'll still be able to use it in exactly the way that you wanted to. So if I was using Toolset, I can't imagine me using the blocks, even though I use the block editor, because I feel that for me, with a client, agency client relationship, the block editor is for my client, and stuff that they get in there is done. They just put text in and stuff like that. But then for different situations, it might be different. So I think it was just a lot of the comments are much about the misunderstanding, with then Amir kind of trying to calm that down. And then there's a lot of comments about the problem that we mentioned, I think, last week, where Toolset and Divi were incompatible for about a week.
Yeah, that's right. Interesting times. For me, though, the interesting sort of shift is that I really like the way that it's going, because everything's done in one place. If you've ever used Toolset before, as Amir is more than happy to point out, it was a mishmash of, okay, so have at least 2 windows open, then go and create your view over here, then go to the actual post or page you want it in, or wherever you wanted to put it, then paste it in there, then refresh, see what happened, then go back to the view, fiddle with the view because it wasn't working how you want, and so and now all of the options are going to be kind of point, click, do it live where it is, and it's significantly easier. So from that point of view, if he can get people over the hump of doing it as a block, I think the time it will take to do complicated stuff with toolset hopefully will come down. But if people are absolutely dead set against the block editor, well, he's gonna struggle to convert them, I think. There you go. W3 Total Cache has been acquired by BoldGrid. Let's move on. WPMU Dev have acquired Broken Link Checker. Didn't see that one coming. And that's all I've got from the sort of plugin side of stuff. What else have we got? Oh yeah, I got a couple of deals this week. I told you about my page. Go and click on these links. These are ones that are all on AppSumo. It turns out AppSumo are like going crazy for WordPress, so there's some links there. I did a nice little podcast this week with a lovely chap called David Wormsley. It's our Marketing We Don't Know Anything Funnels series, where we talk about a book by a lady called Bryony Thomas called Watertight Marketing. And so David and I this week talk about losing clients before you've even got them. The idea being that they might have signed a contract, they might even have given you some cash, but that doesn't mean you're going to finish the project with them because your processes aren't working. So you can check that out. Me and Peachanary, we're doing a UI UX thing this Wednesday, 13th of November. She's great at this. It'll be just like what you're watching now, only it'll be Peacha instead of these three talking about UI and UX. And if you want to submit your site because you built something and you think, I'm not quite sure, is there something I'm missing here? Well, Peacha will take a look at it and submit it there. And what else have I got? The only one that I want
we've done community already, right? There was this. There is this conference tomorrow here in London, actually. Oh no, it's not. It's not there. WP Engine Summit. That's where I thought it was written. The agency. Summit.
Oh, sorry, no, I missed that one. WP. Have you got a URL that you want to give me, or just shall I just Google it?
Yeah, just Google it for a second.
What is it? WP Engine? Is it London?
WP Engine Summit in London. It's going to be a full day tomorrow. Very interesting. A lot of interesting speakers.
There you go.
Yeah.
Is that it?
That it.
There you go.
All
right. Thank you. Didn't know about that. Digital Breakthrough Conference. Inspire your next move. So that's over at attend.wpengine.com/summit-EU-2019. Are you going, Peter? Are you off to
yes.
That? Oh, okay.
I'll be there tomorrow.
What time is it on?
Early morning, I guess. I don't remember exactly. Maybe
is there an evening party and stuff like that? I imagine.
It's like a full day thing.
Yeah, because they're very good at looking after people. WP Engine, aren't they? They feed people well and
parties. Oh yeah, there were 3 WP Engine parties in WCUS just now. 3 at the same time. Like for different audiences. I went to the wrong one. Dan sent me to the wrong one.
He'd had enough of you. But you got that one.
So I had to bounce between them.
Ronald in the chat has actually got a spare ticket.
Oh,
so if anybody wants to go and you're prepared to message Ronald, he says, I've got a spare ticket because I'm unable to go. Well, what about that? What a fabulous little thing that was to say. Thank you, Ronald. That was really nice. And I didn't know about it. So
Ronald, I'm wearing his t-shirt at the moment. Well,
so you're wearing Matt Madeiros's hat.
Oh yeah.
Ronald's t-shirt. I've got to ask, whose underwear are you wearing?
Mine.
Yeah.
Sorry, couldn't resist that.
Yeah, that was perfect.
Inside out.
Yeah, we're not going there. This is not that podcast. The only one that I want to mention in the bottom here, there was one about artificial intelligence. If you like that, go and check that out because it's really interesting about what people think about it. And it's quite scary that people want artificial intelligence to be better than we are. But this one, I am a massive advocate. I've got no skin in the game. I don't have any way of recommending them beyond just I've used them a lot. I just think GoCardless is the way to go if you're doing recurring subscriptions, because it's the cheapest way of doing it. Let's say that you process £100 per month through GoCardless. They're going to take like £1.12 or something along those lines, and there's no cheaper way of doing it as far as I know. The limitation was that it was EU based, certain European countries and Australia. And I believe they began in the UK because they're London based. Well, they've now got this thing called Go Borderless, which they've combined themselves with TransferWise, which is a company which tried to get rid of the tariffs for international translations between currencies. And I cannot say that I've used it, but I would say if you've got recurring revenue set up and you are a plugin builder, get on this quick. Write a plugin to integrate with Go Borderless, because it's like Stripe but cheaper. I love it.
Very nice.
So, there you go. Yeah.
You have to be aware that it doesn't generate invoices for you.
Yep.
So it's just a direct debit, isn't it? But these companies, the founders of this company are going to be so rich.
Yeah. Well, I mean, because the system is that you sign what in the UK you sign this thing called a direct debit mandate, and basically that's saying without any further contact from you, I agree to pay you every month from now on, until such times as I manually go and block the thing. And so that requires you to look at your bank statement and be careful, not sign up to anything you don't agree with, but it's frictionless. There's nothing happening in between. It's just great. And I think that model might actually kind of work quite well for subscription services, because who knows how many people drop out of products that they might keep going because that monthly invoice came through. And I'm not advocating being sort of nefarious, but I'm sure that happens. So that what seems like a drawback might actually be a benefit. Okay. That's all I've got. At the end of this podcast, every week I ask everybody to just tell us what you're up to this week. It's a total free for all. You can say what you like. Promotion is fine. Paul, what about you?
Yeah, I've actually got something this week.
Oh, good.
Yeah. So when are you doing the thing with Peacher? On Friday, did you say?
Wednesday.
Okay.
Yeah.
So on Thursday, on the 14th, at 5 p.m. GMT +1, I'm doing a masterclass with Peacher on her Design for Geeks channel. I think it will be in the Facebook group. So it's similar to stuff I've talked about before. It's about content on your website changing based on the different scenario of the user, or who the user is, or what you know about the user at that time. So we're going to do a kind of practical session, probably be about 45 minutes to an hour.
Nice.
Oh, that's thrilling. That's great, because
one as well.
I like the pair of you very much. I mean, obviously I like her slightly more than I like you, Paul, but that's
I know you're always telling me that. Thanks.
To be expected. Yeah, that's how we begin every conversation. All right, Paul, I like Peacher a bit more than you. Right, what are we going to do? No, I like you equally. Yeah. She's actually watching this, so God bless her. She's probably got a nice shade of beetroot. Perhaps anything exciting this week?
Oh, goodness. No, not really. Hopefully finish off a big website. Well, it's not that big, but big for me. Bringing two WooCommerce sites together into one. So hopefully finish that off this week.
Have you got any content for WP and Up lined up for this week, or is it?
Oh, goodness. There's content every week on WP and Up. I'll have you know.
Well, there you go. wpandup.org/.
Guest articles as well.
Yeah.
So
okay.
Happy to help people get stuff out there as well.
Thank you. Vito.
Tomorrow I'm going to the WP Engine thing. And well, I have like 300 packages already packed here of t-shirts that needs to be sent out over the next week. So that's gonna take a few hours to just send all of them out. We did it in the US just a few days ago when I was there. We did like the US batch, like 250, and we had to bribe the postal officers to stay after hours because it was just like 6 hours just writing every address and all this kind of stuff. So
Oh.
I'm not looking forward to that, and I'm happy that I don't have a physical business. That's kind of confirming that. But that's probably gonna be my week.
Yeah,
And
the
following
idea
up a lot of the stuff from WordCamp.
I am specifically not authorizing Vito to talk about this, but are you going to write up your WordCamp US experience?
Yes, definitely. They got some
Okay.
pictures, and we had some really nice experiences there. You're talking about what we talked about before?
Yeah.
I don't know about that. Let's see. Let's see.
Wait and see how that goes. Okay, so mom's the word.
And
Right.
as you write things, sometimes it just comes out, and you're like,
Yes.
no, just leave it there. So maybe that'll happen.
Yeah, thank you. Quick one again. I'm pushing everybody towards my Black Friday thing. wpbuilds.com/black. Go and check it out if you like Black Friday deals. But that's it. Thank you so much for joining us. Really appreciate it. Thanks to Paul, to Babs, to Vito, and we will see you all next week. Cheerio.
Bye bye.